The courtroom doors opened like a thunderclap. Everyone in the gallery held their breath. Tamar Braxton walked in with a file in her hands. It was heavier than the paper it carried. Within minutes, a clerk announced that legal papers had been filed. Mendeecees was named. Emotions crashed. This was not a quiet legal motion. It arrived as spectacle. Cameras flashed. Phones recorded every step. Rumors that had simmered for months erupted into headlines. The room felt smaller. Secrets felt larger. People muttered. Lawyers adjusted ties. And someone began to cry quietly near the back. Then, a distinct sound. A woman's sob. Yandy. She left the courtroom for a moment and then returned, eyes red. The papers were described as divorce documents. The word landed like a blow. The world outside immediately searched for context. Why now? Why in public? Those questions cut through the hush. This was more than a split. It hinted at betrayal, missteps, and a public unraveling. Friends texted. Allies posted. The first clips trended within an hour. Social feeds became battlegrounds. But the most important thing was not the tearful moment itself. It was the file. Inside were claims, dates, and a statement that changed narratives. People who had supported one side began to hesitate. Fans who had assumed loyalty started asking for proof. The initial shock had been delivered. The next moves would decide everything. The legal filing promised pages of revelation, timelines, conversations, and photographs that would force reevaluation. In the next chapter, we trace the roots of this fracture. Years of whispered tensions, public smiles that masked private storms, and alliances that quietly shifted behind the scenes. Turn the page. The past would speak, and truths emerge. Before courtrooms and legal filings, there were smiles, red carpets, and declarations of loyalty. Tamar Braxton and Yandy Smith shared more than the spotlight. They shared trust. Their friendship was broadcast through laughter, collaborations, and public praise. Behind the scenes, though, things were far less harmonious. Mendeecees, Yandy's longtime partner and husband, had long been portrayed as the reformed man, loyal father, disciplined husband, a man who had walked through storms and come out clean. Fans loved the redemption arc. Tamar admired it too. Or so it seemed. It began innocently. Messages exchanged for business. Mendeecees was said to be offering advice, possibly linking Tamar with an investment circle for her upcoming music and reality projects. The friendship between Yandy and Tamar made the connection appear harmless. But whispers began when texts grew longer and meetings became private. Industry insiders hinted at emotional entanglements long before anything public surfaced. There's tension in that trio, one producer reportedly told a blog last year. Yet, no one expected the calm-faced Tamar, known for bold honesty, to be the one who would file papers first. The move caught everyone off guard. Still, those close to her suggest it wasn't sudden. She tried to handle it quietly, a friend told gossip columnists. But things went left when receipts started floating around that couldn't be ignored. That's when Yandy's calm facade began to crack. The media's narrative simplified the tension to jealousy or betrayal, but what brewed beneath was about power, control over image, loyalty, and the blurred line between emotional support and manipulation. As the cameras rolled, every smile and post was re-examined like evidence. And yet, the breaking point hadn't arrived. Not yet. That would come when an unexpected event exposed everything that had been whispered, when the illusion of loyalty shattered in real time. Because what happened next didn't just change reputations. It tested the limits of friendship, love, and truth under public scrutiny. Now, let's step into the night when everything snapped. The trigger incident that no one saw coming. It was supposed to be just another night. A charity gala in Atlanta, packed with cameras, influencers, and music executives. Tamar Braxton arrived glowing, in a gold gown that shimmered under the lights. Yandy and Mendeecees entered minutes later, perfectly coordinated in black. On the surface, everything looked like unity. But beneath the smiles, tension simmered. Witnesses later said Tamar avoided eye contact. Mendeecees stayed close to Yandy but checked his phone repeatedly. A photographer captured a moment, one that would later ignite speculation. Mendeecees leaning over to whisper something to Tamar as Yandy looked away. It lasted seconds, but that single frame became a viral storm. Hours later, someone posted the photo on social media with the caption, "Something's not right here." Within minutes, fans noticed the same necklace Mendeecees wore in that picture had appeared in a different selfie Tamar posted days earlier. Coincidence? Maybe, but the timing was brutal. By midnight, gossip blogs were ablaze. Screenshots of old messages between Tamar and Mendeecees surfaced. Casual, familiar, but increasingly intimate. "You always understand me," one message read. Another simply said, "Wish things were different." Neither side confirmed authenticity, but silence spoke volumes. The next morning, Yandy went live. Her voice trembled as she said, "I don't know what to believe anymore." Viewers flooded her comments, some begging her to leave, others accusing Tamar of betrayal. It was chaos in real time. The foundation of trust had cracked before millions of eyes. For Tamar, the pressure was unbearable. She deactivated her Instagram within hours, only to return 2 days later with a cryptic story post. Sometimes truth breaks before it heals. That message divided fans even further. Some called it strength. Others saw it as confession. By week's end, both camps had lawyers. What began as whispers turned into formal accusations. Rumors of business fraud, emotional manipulation, and personal betrayal merged into a storm no one could contain. And just when it felt like the fire might die down, something unexpected happened. The online world erupted in ways none of them could have predicted. Because the fallout wasn't just personal anymore, it was public, raw, and unstoppable. The internet didn't just react, it detonated. Within hours of Yandy's emotional livestream, the hashtag Tamar and Mendeecees started trending across every platform. TikTok detectives began stitching videos, analyzing tone, body language, even the timestamps on old posts. Instagram reels dissected every lyric Tamar had sung in her latest song, claiming hidden meanings about guilt and betrayal. Clips of Yandy's tears spread like wildfire. Her voice cracking, her hand trembling, fans replayed those moments in slow motion, calling her the face of heartbreak. Meanwhile, others pointed fingers at Mendeecees, flooding his comments with broken heart emojis and demands for explanations. One tweet read, "We watched Yandy build that man. And this is how he repays her?" Another countered, "We don't know the whole story. Tamar doesn't move without reason." The internet had chosen sides before any facts were clear. Podcast hosts, gossip YouTubers, and entertainment pages all joined the frenzy. "Is this love, loyalty, or manipulation?" one viral headline asked. Another claimed, "Inside the text messages that ended a friendship." Everyone wanted a piece of the scandal. Screenshots, half-verified sources, and anonymous insiders created an echo chamber of speculation. The strangest part? Mendeecees stayed silent. No statement, no denial. Just a single Instagram story showing him working out, captioned "Focus." It felt defiant, almost dismissive. Fans saw it as a challenge. The silence made everything worse. Yandy's friends began unfollowing Tamar. Old collaborations vanished from playlists. Even Bravo personalities started dropping vague tweets. Some folks aren't who they pretend to be. The entertainment world smelled blood, and clicks came easy. Meanwhile, Tamar reappeared on Twitter with a single post. "Don't twist what you don't understand." That only fueled the fire. Her mentions flooded with anger, sympathy, and confusion. Every rumor was dissected. Every post became potential evidence. What had started as one woman's heartbreak was now a social phenomenon. And just when the noise seemed unbearable, a leak emerged. Screenshots, files, and voice notes began circulating in private group chats before spilling into the public eye. Because the receipts had arrived, and they were about to change everything. It began with a mysterious post from a gossip page known for breaking celebrity scandals. The caption simply read, "We got the files." Within minutes, the comments section exploded. Then came the screenshots, blurry at first, then crystal clear. Alleged conversations between Tamar and Mendeecees that painted a story far darker than anyone expected. The messages hinted at late-night calls, emotional confessions, and even financial exchanges. One line stood out: "I just need peace, and you're the only one who gets it." The message was time-stamped 3 weeks before Yandy's anniversary post, a detail fans didn't miss. Another screenshot appeared to show Tamar sending what she called the proof, with an attachment named contracttruth.pdf. That file reportedly contained agreements involving a joint business deal, one that Yandy claimed she knew nothing about. Bloggers and YouTubers froze the image, zoomed in, analyzed metadata, and began drawing connections. But it didn't stop there. A short audio clip leaked next, a muffled voice resembling Mendeecees saying, "I told her not to find out this way." It was grainy, but real enough to ignite outrage. Yandy's silence ended that night. She went live again, eyes red, voice shaking, confirming she'd heard the recording. "You all think you know, but you don't. I found out like everybody else, through the blogs." Her pain was raw, unfiltered. Tamar, on the other hand, broke her silence through a carefully worded Instagram post. "Everything you're seeing is twisted. I'm not the villain in this story. I'm the one who was betrayed first." That line flipped the narrative. Fans were left wondering, betrayed by whom? Days later, Mendeecees finally issued a statement through his publicist. "Personal matters are being exaggerated for attention. I've made mistakes, but nothing illegal or immoral." Yet the damage was irreversible. Brands began distancing themselves. Sponsorship deals froze, and the tension between Tamar and Yandy turned into a legal chess game. The contracttruth.pdf was officially filed in court as part of Tamar's lawsuit, the same document she had carried that fateful day into the courthouse. The internet had seen the receipts. But what they didn't know yet was why they existed. Because beneath the chaos of betrayal and tears, there was a power struggle no one had anticipated. And it was about to flip everything upside down. Once the receipts surfaced, everything changed. The sympathy that had poured toward Yandy began to fracture. Fans started revisiting Tamar's words, the cryptic ones they had dismissed as deflection. Maybe they thought she really was betrayed first. The narrative began to tilt. Blogs that once called Tamar the homewrecker now questioned Mendeecees' truthfulness. Screenshots from old interviews resurfaced, showing inconsistencies in his stories about loyalty, finances, and his role in Yandy's brand partnerships. Suddenly, the perfect husband image didn't look so flawless. Tamar, once drowning in criticism, began to reclaim her voice. She appeared on a late-night Instagram live, soft-spoken but firm. "People always want to tell a woman how she should hurt," she said. "But they never ask what she's been carrying." Her words hit differently this time. The crowd that once booed her now leaned in. Meanwhile, Yandy's silence grew heavier. Her PR team released a short statement. "Our focus is family and healing. We ask for privacy." But privacy was impossible. Every post, every public appearance, every facial expression became material for online dissection. Then came a twist no one saw coming. A second file leak, this time showing business documents suggesting Yandy had unknowingly signed off on deals tied to Tamar's management circle. It wasn't infidelity anymore. It was about money, control, and deception hidden under paperwork. Public opinion flipped overnight. Tamar's followers skyrocketed, with fans calling her the woman who exposed manipulation. Mendeecees' brand endorsements plummeted. Even Yandy's own supporters admitted that something about the story no longer added up. The power dynamic had shifted completely. What began as a scandal of hearts was now a battle for credibility. Tamar held the proof. Mendeecees had his silence. Yandy had her tears. But behind the emotional chaos, the industry started watching closely, because in Hollywood and hip-hop alike, every downfall leaves a trail. And soon those in power would be forced to respond, not just to the gossip, but to the growing demand for accountability. What followed next would take the drama beyond personal pain, straight into the Boardrooms of reality TV and brand politics, the entertainment industry thrives on spectacle, and this one was too big to ignore. As soon as court filings went public, reality TV producers began rewriting scripts. Networks that once showcased Yandy and Mendeecees as the power couple now debated whether to quietly cut scenes or capitalize on the tension. Behind closed doors, PR teams scrambled. Mendeecees' camp released a calm but defensive statement. Our client denies any wrongdoing. He remains focused on his family and career. Yet insiders whispered that his sponsorship deals were on pause, pending review. A sneaker brand even deleted all posts featuring him overnight. Tamar's approach was different, strategic and unapologetic. She hired a top crisis manager known for handling A-list controversies. Her first move, transparency. She went on a podcast and, without naming names, said, "Sometimes receipts ain't revenge, they're protection." The quote went viral. Meanwhile, Yandy tried to maintain professionalism. She continued her business ventures, posting motivational content about resilience and peace. But the comments under every post told a different story. Fans were divided and sponsors grew uneasy. Some called her inspiring. Others accused her of denial. Then came the media roundtable. A group of entertainment journalists discussed the scandal live on air, framing it as more than gossip, a study in celebrity accountability and emotional branding. They noted how the line between personal and professional had blurred, how every move in the reality TV world was now part of a larger PR chess game. Publicists from other reality stars began quietly warning their clients, "Stay away from that narrative. It's radioactive." But the drama's reach was unstoppable. Every mention, every repost kept it alive. And yet, beneath the media spin and PR management, something real was breaking. The glossy image of loyalty, partnership, and sisterhood had been replaced with distrust. The industry had made its moves. But for Tamar, Yandy, and Mendeecees, the true battle wasn't in headlines anymore. It was internal, because beneath contracts and statements lay something far deeper, the emotional wreckage that no press release could fix. When the cameras went quiet, the real noise began, inside their hearts. For Tamar, the aftermath felt like déjà vu. She had fought for peace so many times before, only to watch it slip away under scrutiny. Friends said she barely slept, scrolling through comments, questioning every choice. "Did I go too far?" she reportedly whispered to a confidant. But deep down she knew, the lawsuit wasn't revenge. It was survival. Yandy, meanwhile, faced a silence she didn't recognize. The woman known for control, for poise under pressure, was now lost in emotional fog. Those closest to her said she cried for days, not just over Mendeecees, but over losing someone she once called a sister. The betrayal, real or perceived, tore through her like a wound that wouldn't close. And Mendeecees, the man at the center of it all, seemed caught between guilt and pride. He told one friend, "I didn't mean for it to get this far," but refused to elaborate. Every word felt like a weapon now. Every memory, a potential liability. The weight of his choices pressed harder than any public backlash could. Each of them carried a different kind of grief. For Tamar, it was the exhaustion of defending her truth. For Yandy, it was the ache of humiliation. For Mendeecees, it was the burden of consequence. But beyond the pain, a question lingered in all their minds. Was this the price of fame? Or the cost of loving in public? They were living proof that behind every viral headline was a human story, messy, flawed, and heartbreakingly real. And as emotions collided behind closed doors, one moment of revelation was still waiting. A truth that would shatter what little remained of their fragile peace. Little remained of their fragile peace. The turning point came on a quiet Sunday afternoon. While the internet had started to cool down, one post reignited the fire. A leaked email thread allegedly between Tamar's attorney and Yandy's business partner. The subject line read, "Unauthorized transfer, immediate action required." The emails detailed something that hadn't yet been part of the public narrative, a financial dispute involving an investment fund Yandy and Mendeecees had set up for a joint reality project. According to the documents, Tamar had contributed a large sum months earlier, trusting Mendeecees to handle logistics. But when the project failed to materialize, her funds were quietly redirected. The amount? Nearly 6 figures. Fans had speculated emotional betrayal, but this was bigger. This was money. It changed everything. Suddenly, Tamar's decision to go to court didn't look like personal drama. It looked like justice. She wasn't just suing for defamation or emotional distress. She was demanding accountability for what appeared to be financial manipulation. Yandy's reaction was immediate. She released a tearful video saying, "If this is true, I was deceived too. I never saw those transfers. I would never steal from someone I love." Her voice cracked on the word love. Viewers believed her, but the damage had already spread. Tamar's legal team followed with a statement confirming that unauthorized transactions had been uncovered, and that the matter extended beyond personal grievances. Screenshots of the filings hit social media like wildfire. Within hours, hashtags like "On Tamar was right" and "Justice for Yandy" trended simultaneously, a split-screen war of empathy and confusion. Then, Mendeecees finally broke his silence in a cryptic post. "Sometimes you trust people who use your name to build their story. I ain't perfect, but I'm not the villain." The comment section exploded. Some defending him, others demanding the truth. But behind the noise, one fact was now undeniable. The emotional betrayal had a financial backbone. What looked like gossip was now a legal web stretching from friendship to fraud. And in that moment, the entire narrative flipped. It wasn't just a love triangle anymore. It was a power play gone wrong, exposing how fragile trust becomes when money, fame, and loyalty collide. The revelation changed everything, not just for the people involved, but for the culture watching. Suddenly, this wasn't just about Tamar, Yandy, or Mendeecees. It became a mirror for every fan who'd ever watched reality love stories and believed in the illusion of loyalty under pressure. Podcasts and morning shows shifted tone. Commentators began asking, "Why do we glorify toxic loyalty?" Others spoke about financial trust between partners, how often women invest emotionally and financially, only to be left holding the consequences. It was no longer gossip. It was a case study. Tamar's courage in filing the lawsuit and facing the backlash inspired conversations about self-worth. People began to say, "She stood up when silence would have been easier." Her pain became a symbol of reclaiming narrative control in an industry that often punishes women for speaking up. Yandy's vulnerability, meanwhile, struck another chord. Her tearful confession about being blindsided by betrayal resonated with women who'd built others up, only to be broken by the truth. Fans rallied behind her too, starting hashtags like "Otto Stand With Yandy" and "Ostjao Women Supporting Women," reminding everyone that empathy shouldn't vanish when stories get complicated. Even Mendeecees' silence became symbolic, a reminder of how men in the public eye often retreat instead of confronting truth. Analysts debated whether his image could ever recover, or if this was the final chapter in his redemption arc. The cultural shift was undeniable. Viewers began demanding authenticity from influencers, calling out the curated perfection they once idolized. As one viral tweet put it, "We don't want couple goals anymore, we want honesty." This wasn't just scandal anymore. It was social reflection, a wake-up call that blurred the line between entertainment and reality. And just when everyone thought the lessons had settled, the story reached its emotional peak. The moment that tied every heartbreak, every betrayal, and every revelation together. The final showdown didn't happen in front of cameras. It happened quietly, inside a courthouse hallway thick with tension. Tamar arrived first, wearing black, her expression calm but unreadable. Minutes later, Yandy walked in, eyes swollen yet steady. Mendeecees followed, flanked by attorneys, his jaw clenched but his pace slow. What unfolded inside wasn't a shouting match or explosive confession, it was a reckoning. Tamar's lawyers presented the financial records one last time. The court confirmed that unauthorized transfers had occurred, though no criminal intent was proven. Still, restitution was ordered. The numbers spoke louder than words. When the verdict was read, Tamar exhaled. Not a victory cheer, not revenge, just release. Across the aisle, Yandy wept silently. She had lost a friend, a husband's trust, and a piece of herself. Yet in that same moment, something inside her shifted. Acceptance. Outside the courthouse, reporters shouted questions. Mendeecees finally spoke. "I'm taking accountability. Not everything said about me is true, but I made mistakes. Now it's time to rebuild." His tone was low, weary, almost human. Tamar later posted a single sentence on Instagram. "Healing is louder than hate." The world paused. Comments flooded in, some celebrating, others still divided. But one truth became clear. No one had truly won, yet everyone had grown. In the weeks that followed, Tamar focused on music again. Yandy returned to advocacy, using her platform to talk about emotional business boundaries. Mendeecees began therapy. Reportedly at Tamar's suggestion, the courtroom battle ended, but the emotional scars lingered, proof that truth doesn't always bring peace. Sometimes it simply brings clarity. And from that clarity came the final reflection, not about blame or scandal, but about the cost of choosing honesty in a world addicted to performance. In the end, this wasn't just a story about betrayal, it was a lesson in humanity. On every headline, every tear, every leaked message revealed how fragile trust can be when fame and emotion intertwine. Tamar Braxton found her voice not through revenge, but through resolve. Yandy rediscovered strength in vulnerability, while Mendeecees faced the mirror that fame had kept fogged for too long. Their story reminded millions that behind the filters and photo ops are real people, flawed, hurting, and searching for redemption. It forced fans to see beyond the drama and ask themselves, how much of what we consume is truth, and how much is illusion? Because in a world where every post can be weaponized, and every friendship tested by public opinion, choosing truth becomes the ultimate rebellion. Maybe that's the real takeaway. Sometimes healing means letting go, even when love still lingers. So now the question is yours. Whose side are you on? Comment below and let's talk about it.